So here we go. Podcast number 2. They say the second album's the hardest, right, Daniel? The first one you get your whole life to make, and then the second album is the hardest, and it's the one that shows you true metal. So let's see if we've got anything here.
Talking
So
about
anyway, you and
sophomore
I,
slump.
yeah. So I actually talking to music. I got into some of your Killer Mike.
What do you think about Killer Mike?
I'm lying. I didn't. I didn't do that. I
What
googled it, and I was like, I can listen to some of this, and I started. And I was like, it's not you.
are
Don't
you
try to be.
are you familiar with his rap group, Run the Jewels? By far my favorite rap group of all time. They're number one.
Okay, all right. No, I was not. I didn't honestly. I thought about it, and I was like, no. Stay in your lane. Just stick to what you know, and it certainly isn't rap music. So I did not. And that's a funny way to start podcast number 2, to be honest.
Yeah, well, if you knew about Killer Mike, you'd know that I'm keeping these streets in the headlock. So, Chris, I'm going to send you a playlist. I'll take care of you.
Okay, all right.
Hey, man, let's talk about the feedback from last week. What did people say?
So it was interesting. I mean, we got much further reach than I thought we were going to. I had some candid feedback. A couple of guys thought my accent was fake, so that was good. Um, which I don't know where they got that from. Phil accused my background of being weak in comparison with yours, so that was good as well. One of my sales guys said we were boring, so that was nice. I was like, way to have friends. He
Yeah,
said
well,
he made it to 10 minutes and couldn't make it any further. So I was like,
yeah,
oh, thanks very much.
yeah. Your sales guy can suck it then. How about that?
Yeah. Oh, and then, that was actually a good point. Somebody said there wasn't enough swearing, so they tuned out. So we got to increase the swearing. But I don't know. I don't know if we need to do that.
Listen, I do like to say cuss words just because they're fun. But maybe we'll try to avoid it for now.
Yeah, we should. Let's get a bit more established before we get cancelled.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's too soon.
It's a bit too soon.
It's too soon. All right,
What did you hear?
so the accent thing's really funny. Like Chris is pretending. That's not his real accent. If you meet him in person after he has 2 beers, he absolutely has a southern accent. He is not. He's from Kentucky.
It's from Kentucky. That's it.
He's not from England. He's lying about that. I got a few names that were dropped on me, and some of them are pretty good. So Zero Trust Given. So shout out to Sam. That one's real funny,
Yep.
and I like that one a lot. Two Dudes in a Channel. Shout out to Mike Jones. That's
Yep.
another rap reference that you're not going to get, but Mike Jones is a real human.
That's
Security
true.
Roots. Shout out to my boy Jeremy, Jer Bear. Just trying a new nickname for you. Somebody suggested 4chan, like the right wing conspiracy theory chat channel, and I think I'm going to avoid that one. Although, Chris, are you cute?
Let's go around this subject. This ends badly.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and Drew Stratton's over here talking trash about my love of conspiracy theories, but I don't know if you guys are like reading the internet, but it's all coming true, Chris.
I believe it, Daniel. I'm not sure we want to go down that rabbit hole either, do we?
On episode 3, I'll get into aliens. We'll hold that one for the
Well,
next.
that was it. Oh yeah, my actually I got a good story about that. If you want to go there for a second, my in-laws were both born and raised in Roswell in the late 40s, early 50s. So clearly aliens or alien adjacent right there. So
All right,
Roswell, New Mexico.
episode 3, we got some Roswell stories coming, and I'll bring my own. Okay. So let's talk about our teams. Now, I'm representing Birmingham Legion because I'm not a Fairweather fan. We actually planned this, and Chris was supposed to wear his, but he said he doesn't even own any San Diego
Yeah,
Legion gear.
it's on the wall. It's behind me. That's the start.
Hey, Filthy Phil's already talking smack about your
He is
background.
already taught. Yeah, I need to figure out this background business. I might have to go outside.
You're, you're going to have to beef that thing up.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, my Legion took an L last weekend to Hartford Athletic. And if you read online, the fans are a little anxious and nervous about what this year is going to be like. But hey, we rolled out Legion 2, so we've got our USL 2 team. We rolled out a women's team last year. So we are trying to advance the sport in Alabama. So give us that.
Yep. Nothing wrong with that. So San Diego had a good week. They beat Old Glory, who I actually don't know where they are. They're one of the new expansion teams in the league. They kind of had a bit of a shake-up last year, and there's all these new names that came in. There was something fishy happened in LA. There was an LA team, and then they started spend. There was a salary cap thing, and they went round the salary cap and hired all these Australians for big money, and it all fell apart and went sideways. So it's got pretty interesting there. But there's yeah. So San Diego beat Old Glory 27-11. And they are off to Miami. Miami Sharks is another new team. Actually, no, that's not true. So this is all right. Here's a topic for you. In England, when you're playing soccer or you're playing rugby, the team at the beginning, the first team, is the home team. And then in America, you have the whole so and so Denver at Philadelphia. And so the second team is the team at home. It gets very confusing to me because I know the rugby, now I'm looking at the schedule and I can't tell which team's home anymore.
Well, it's because America did all things better, and now we're forcing the rest of you to it. I mean, listen, and you can't even deny that because you live here now.
Yeah, yeah, I am in fact an American citizen, so that kind of seals the deal, doesn't it? So there's no argument there, but it is confusing. Let me see if I can figure this out. Still can't figure it out. I think that it's going to be in Miami, but it doesn't really matter.
Hey, next week, can you tell us what rugby even is? Because
No, I guess we can back it up a little bit. We can do that.
Okay, yeah, I would love to actually know what it is. So tell me, what did you work on this week? I know it's spring break here. It's we're leading into Easter, so things kind of shut down in the South. What did you work
Oh,
on?
and it's full steam ahead still here. I mean, it's quarter end, which is always fun. But the Broadcom comparison conversation continues. So 3 or 4 new deals in this week.
Do you mean
Like
the hypervisor that shall not be named?
there's a hypervisor that shall not be named. Exactly. It's
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I really hope that they've been smart with this and they haven't just screwed it up. But anyway, I mean, people are looking for alternatives, and it's me versus AWS versus Nutanix, and there's multiple deals, the same thing, and we're basically putting up a hosted private cloud. In comparison with those 2 other platforms. And if somebody's a VMware native organization today and they want to stay there, then I mean, we've got a very good chance of winning all of these. So Q1 was a little challenge. It kind of came a bit slow out the blocks. Always the way, right? Christmas and New Year gets in the way, and then there's not as much prospecting as it should be. But the rest of the year, I mean, I don't know. This thing could just blow up entirely. It could be one of the biggest years on record if we can get our ducks in a row and figure out what this story is to bring people to us versus going to one of the other platforms, which I think they're still definitely considering moving off of the hypervisor to a different platform. So we'll see how that goes. How was your week?
Yeah, so I don't operate on the same like quarterly schedule as you guys in that I don't really have that type of model. I'm just working. Like year end means really nothing to me. It's just like noise, right? I'm just like the concept of how I do my job is I'm gonna not think about like quarters or like what we sold this month or even this year. I just want to be diligent to just like focus and do my work, and the chips will fall where they may. I know you can't do that at like a publicly traded company, and it's different for you.
If you've got shareholders, they want to know where their investment is and where it's coming and what those returns are. So it comes with pluses and minuses, but it's fine when you deliver what you say you're going to deliver. It's not fine when you don't. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I just got to keep the lights on. How about that? So we're always having this hypervisor that shall not be named and CSP conversation. Because of the way the licensing has shifted, so standards going away, measuring by cores now, all that fun stuff, the end user increase in billing it far outweighs what your CSP, so like what your billing increase looks like. So it now makes CSP in that fully managed like private cloud stack, it makes it kind of on par with what you're going to pay anyway. So it just makes that offering financially appealing. Along with all the other benefits that you get from it. So we did that kind of stuff. I spent a lot of time on an Azure project this week, building it out for a large backup environment. That kind of stuff's always cool. It's fun when you can do stuff in a hyperscaler, especially for a large scale environment. Those are just fun projects. We still have a ton of customers that are on MPLS, and we're just constantly migrating people off of it. There have been some cool evolutions in the SD-WAN and SASE space. So now we're starting to replace like the first wave of SD-WAN products that rolled out, 7, 8, 9 years ago with some next gen stuff. It's cool to see the evolution of that product. I remember when I first started delivering that solution, the first time we did a technical review, the end user said, "That's black magic. It'll never work. That's dumb. You made that up." And we had to literally do a POC to prove it. And now it's fun to see how it's just going to wholesale adoption. And then the thing that consumed the most of my week was a large scale CX project. This one's a cool one because the end user had already engaged with vendors before I met them. We hit it off. They implemented me in the middle of the project to help wrangle everybody in and get things on the right track and help them navigate to and find the right solution for them. And they'd already seen pricing and all that fun stuff, and I got them a 30% discount off the street price. So it's one of those compelling examples where I can validate, like, I delivered the best solution and I genuinely saved you a bunch of money. So it's like, why would you not work with a partner?
Precisely.
It makes it so much better. Delivers a ton of value. What did you learn about this week?
So actually, before we jump to that, I think we haven't used this platform, a second podcast, and we haven't really had an ask yet. But I actually do have an ask, and maybe you know the answer, but maybe one of the viewers does. CapEx. So people are still hung up. Like I've been working in the OpEx space forever. Like we still have clients who say, look, we can't go to this managed service because we have to do everything through CapEx. Now, I understand that CapEx, you get to depreciate it and you get to some of those tax benefits. And then if you're in the business of being sold, then having a large OpEx spend does affect your valuation and things like that. What we need to figure out is if there is a middle ground between either OpEx and CapEx, or if there's a way to treat private cloud purchase type spend as a CapEx value. Now, I mean, I've got some strings I can pull, but I guess personally, I don't still fully understand this resistance and this determination to stay with CapEx, because that's probably my biggest competition right now, is people just saying, oh, I'm just going to do it myself because I want to be able to CapEx the hardware. So if anybody out there knows that answer, or if I'll open it to you too, Daniel, if you've got any answers on specifics on how we would basically tick all the boxes. I want to be able to deliver a managed solution as a CapEx project, I guess, is the key here. And we might need an accountant.
Yeah, so I see this stuff a lot. Now, I will say that I started focusing on managed services like 8 years ago. And Alabama moves slower compared to urban markets by a lot. And so, dude, it was tough starting out, trying to focus on hosted and managed services and cloud services back then. But I've seen this wonderful evolution, and people begin to consume it in part because like some stuff's just going to SaaS and you have to, or it doesn't make sense to run stuff on prem, or I mean, there's a ton of reasons. I won't belabor the point. But I'm seeing the evolution of CFOs as well in my market, where even now in like some of my most conservative accounts, they're coming back and saying like, hey, we've rethought this and we don't care if it's OpEx or CapEx, doesn't matter to us. But for the project you're talking about, would it not satisfy the need if you offered an annual payment or like an upfront payment, like pay for the full term?
So that's kind of where we're leaning towards. We end up with a kind of it would still be amortized over the length of the term, but at the end of it, we've got to have them effectively either own the equipment or be able to dispose of the equipment on their paper. So there's definitely ways around it. I'm interested to see what's happening out there, if anybody's got any clever opinions, because I know that AWS has a way if you prepay some of your reserved instances, like there's a way to CapEx that, which is kind of foreign to our traditional thinking. So anyway, just something that's on my mind that I'm trying to solve. So I thought I'd maybe see what's out there in the world.
Well, if any of the viewers have a good idea, maybe let us know.
Yeah, we should.
So what did you learn about this week?
So learning this week, I'm still on the FinOps stuff. Still, we talked about that last week. We don't need to talk about it again. But I got into a book, which is kind of interesting. It's called "Can't Hurt Me" by David Goggins. Have you read it?
Yeah.
And this guy's just an outstanding individual. Some of it's hard to believe and honestly hard to listen to, but I just don't know how he pushes himself like he does. Like he went through whatever it is, Marine Corps boot camp or whatever the next level is in Coronado Island in California with broken legs. and he
Yeah.
managed to he got through it. It's just nuts. Like, I mean, the stories are just. I don't think I could ever push myself that hard, but I like listening to it because it would be nice to aspire to that. But some crazy stories.
Yeah, the audiobook's the way to go on that one so you can hear him tell the story. He's
No,
a
yeah.
fascinating guy. Whenever, like, if I'm ever having like a little pity party for myself and feeling kind of sad and depressed, you
Oh.
know, oh, I'll put on a David Goggins clip in the background and it's just a guy yelling at me, "Stay hard, mother effer." That's what I need to hear in those moments. So this year, one of my goals, and I'll state this publicly just so that people will hold me accountable and talk smack to me. So I want to run a marathon this year.
Oh, nice.
So I was challenged to run a marathon in 2020, um, in January of 2020, and the race was in April of 2020, and I was like, oh, gosh, like I wasn't running at all, but I agreed, like it was pride, and
Hmm.
so I immediately hit the streak. Got up to 18 miles in 30 days. Pandemic happens, they shut down the world, cancel the race, and Chris,
So you just sigh of relief.
hey, I was like, woo!
Dodge that one.
It's not so much like what I found with running is once you get past mile 12, it's not that it's painful, like it does suck, but it's really that it's just boring. Like after
Hmm.
mile 12, you're like there's nothing on my playlist, there's no book, there's nothing that I can do. Like I'm just alone with my thoughts, and this is no good. But anyway, so listening to that David Goggins book, I listened to it in December, and I realized I was being a bit of a baby, and so I'm gonna go run one this year.
Get back in it. Yeah, yeah, do that. That's a good idea.
Just for the mental discipline. That's why. So you posed a question or for a topic. Let's talk about it
Hmm.
because this is a crusade that I'm on, and you do this in a good way. So the question was, how should a vendor interact with a channel partner, and what are the best practices? So this is a little bit of inside baseball. But I'm an open book, and I actually have these conversations with our end users. We try to be hyper open about how all this stuff works because it removes all doubt. Um, in fact, some of the stuff with the nature of our work, like, so for example, Chris, if I work on the Flex Central project with you, the end user never pays me, right? Like, the end user never has to cut me a check ever for
Hmm.
that project, and it doesn't cost them more. It's incredible. The first time end users hear that, I'll have them push back and say, like, well, what's the catch? Like, what do you mean you're not
It's
going to
too good to
charge
be
me?
true.
It is. We are too good to be true, Chris. You nailed it.
I
All
did.
right.
I set you up.
So back to the question. So from your perspective, so you're engaging with channel partners
Hmm.
primarily across the southeast. How do you do it? What do you think actually works? Where do you find the most value and success?
Well, it's a great question, and I've been giving it a lot of thought, to be honest. I mean, there's two ends of the spectrum. I mean, you got the guys that literally say, "Hey, I've got a connection with this company, and they're doing this," and that's all they know. They don't have any details. They have nothing. And I guess lead generation type organizations is fine. But where we get the most value is when we work with an organization like yours, like White Oak, where you are so ingrained with the organizations, you can tell them not necessarily what happened yesterday, but what happened a year ago, and then what the future focus is, and then what the buying process looks like as well. So, and I mean, you more or less ask the questions that I need to architect solutions before I've even asked you to ask them. So that's really the key is somebody that understands the organization, understands the business processes, but then also takes it a step further and understands the focus that I need to then solution an architecture. I think that's the key. But at the other end of the spectrum, if somebody just wants to find leads, that's fine as well. I mean, I'm more than happy to run deals. But it's interesting. When in the channel, we see both ends of the spectrum.
What percentage of partners that you work with are more of like lead generation, hand you a project, and let me know if it closes?
It's not the lion's share are much more involved. I mean, I think that the days of that are over. People,
They are.
it's not. It's probably 70-30, if even 30% of just lead generation. It's we get people that have. You get the odd chancer out there, don't you? Somebody that has a side conversation and then registers a deal but has really no hooks into the organization. So you have to be able to sniff those out. And we're fairly loyal. Whoever brings the lead in first, we usually stick with that person. But oftentimes that's not really the right thing to do. Like we've got to be fairly cautious with organizations, especially big organizations, because they might have a dozen partners in there, and they all have different specialties and they all go different directions. So it's definitely more of an art than a science, but you do need to be careful you don't hitch your wagon to the wrong horse or whatever that. I've just butchered that analogy, but you know what I mean.
Horse is the right one. Yeah. 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 Yeah, I mean that makes total sense. But to cover a point that you just made, them days is over. Like that, just transactional only partner. Like, hey, if that's you, you're in you're in trouble, right? You're in trouble. Like that's not the way of the future. If you're just a salesperson and all you know how to do is set appointments, open doors, and like pay for lunch,
Hmm.
what are you doing? Like you're not even paying attention on the demos. Like if you would just be present and aware, you would learn the technology and you'd be able to have competent conversations about what you're delivering and actually understand value propositions and how you help end users. That's laziness. People have to evolve into actually being able to solve problems and deliver value. Or
Hmm.
I don't understand what they're going to do in the future.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. All right. Well, we better keep our eye on the time because I don't want my sales guy getting bored again, and we're over 20 minutes already.
Uh,
Uh, what else do we want? What do we want to close with?
my closer on how vendors should interact with partners is understand your audience. Um, I think that what is often frustrating for me is when vendors, and this is a marketing thing, like mass marketing that's generic doesn't work. Like sending a billion cold emails, waste of time. Don't bother
Yep.
with it.
Hmm.
It's better to be hyper focused on the thing that you're trying to solve and the problem that you want to overcome, and that's the thing that you focus on. Define what you do, how you do it, and your audience. So when vendors talk to us, they should have an understanding of the type of work that we do, the way that we approach projects, and the way we try to deliver those solutions for end users because it's not a transactional approach. I don't want transactional customers. Like, let me take that back. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I'll take your order if you got one, but that's not really the approach that I'm trying to go for. Like, I don't want a million accounts. I want the right accounts, and I
Hmm.
just want to work with those consistently so that I can deliver value and build momentum and things get better and better the more we see, the more we do, and we try to provide much more value. So for vendors, you should understand who your partner is that you're trying to engage and the things that actually move the needle with them, uh, and how it can actually be a benefit to your business or their
Hmm.
business rather. So that also means like if you're a new vendor, you've got to validate your technology with us first. Don't come in initially talking about monetization and like I don't care about any of that stuff. The amount of money that your product pays meaningless to me. First, you need to validate the solution, and when I'm out trying to deliver solutions for end users, I'm not thinking what's going to pay me the most.
Right.
That's a dumb way to do it. If your goal is to not be transactional, if your goal is to actually deliver multiple services to an end user and to provide long-term value over
Hmm.
years,
And that's
if
the key,
that's the
right?
goal, then I can't stick bad solutions in that you're not going to love just because it might pay me a little bit more.
Hmm. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we better wrap it there. But we spent 23 minutes. We haven't talked about any of the important stuff. We didn't figure out a name, so we'll do that. We'll stick that back on the agenda. We'll do that again next week. And we haven't fixed my background either, so that's that. But that's all right.
You got
I
a lot of
guess
work to do.
if anybody has topics that we want to talk about, just stick it in the chat. LinkedIn's probably the place to put all that stuff. But yeah, nice talking to you as always, Daniel. We'll wrap this one and we'll see you again next week.
Happy
Sound good?
Good Friday. Happy
Oh yeah,
Easter.
happy Easter.
Adios.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
See ya.